So, welcome to Blockchain Nuts and Bolts. And here we'll be discussing the paragraph 2, that's the transactions. So, we define an electronic coin as a chain of digital signatures. Now, here I'll just spend few minutes on what digital signatures mean here. Digital signatures is a technology that allows me, you, and or anyone to prove that he owns a private key. And when he signs a message with a private key, he creates a digital signature, and mathematically he can prove that he signed it. That's the kind of peculiarity, the relationship between the private keys and the public keys. So anyone will be able to acknowledge with my public key that I have signed it, because that can only be verified with my private key. So we'll not go into the details of how basically digital signatures work or how private keys and public keys work, but the main reason is that private keys and public keys, they enable such kind of a possibility based on absolute mathematics. What chain is he referring to is blocks, and each block has some kind of transaction, and these chains are connected to each other with digital signatures. Each owner transfers the coin to the next by digitally signing a hash of the previous transaction and the public key of the next owner and adding these to the end of coin. So this means that the transactions are indexed in these connected blocks. All these blocks are connected with each other. All the transactions that take place while they are indexed in each block, the block size is 1 MB. Suppose in case of a Bitcoin blockchain, the block size is 1 MB. So when this 1 MB reaches its limit, when it closes, and when it finally indexed as a closed block, as an immutable block, thereafter the hash of this block is taken and it is indexed in the subsequent block which is chained to it. So this way, hash of hash of hash of hash of chains, this continue to be indexed in respective blocks. So further going, a payee can verify the signatures to verify the chain of ownership. So anytime on the Blockchain Explorer, he can go, if not Blockchain Explorer, he can simply check out with the basic Bitcoin CLI commands about how to verify each of these blocks, how many transactions are being indexed in each block, and how do we verify all these blocks, how do we verify the signature. So there are ways and means, there are commands to it, and everyone has the access, each and every node has the access to verify all these signatures, whether they are right or wrong. So in this figure that we are seeing here, so we see basically three transactions: owner 1's public key, then it is hash, then it is owner's 0 signatures, and then it is owner's 1 private key. So you see from transaction, the first block, the hash is being verified from the first transaction into the second transaction. So owner 1 signature is basically a combination of hash of the previous block and signature from the owner's 1 private key. Thereafter, once this owner's 2 transactions are completed, all these transactions are indexed. Thereafter, the same thing is replicated into the owner 3. So this chain goes on, and this is what we are trying to emphasize and interpret, that the Merkle tree, the hashes, the trees that are formed, what we had discussed in the Merkle trees and Patricia trees in one of the videos. So these hashes, these connect all these blocks. So moving further ahead, the problem of course is the payee cannot verify that one of the owners did not double spend the coin. So here comes the interesting part, that how will the node know that this is not a double spend problem, this is not a double spent coin, whatever coins he has received. So this is ensured with the help of consensus. A common solution is to introduce a trusted central authority. So it is here that the third parties are traditionally being used, and they are traditionally ensuring that there is no double spending. So moving ahead, after each transaction, the coin must be returned to the mint to issue a new coin, and only the coins issued directly from the mint are trusted not to be double spent. The problem with this solution is that the fate of entire money system depends on company running the mint, with every transaction that having to go through them just like a bank. So again, he's just trying to build up the kind of importance all these third party hold. And moving further ahead, we need a way for the payee to know that the previous owners did not sign any earlier transactions. So here comes the interesting part. For our purposes, it moves further ahead. For our purposes, the earliest transaction is the one that counts. So we do not care about the later attempts to double spends. The only way to confirm the absence of a transaction is to be aware of all the transaction, and this is the beauty of blockchain. So in case, I'll just try to explain it here. So in case I have to do a transaction, so in case I get some bitcoins in my account, so it is as easy as simply surfing or simply exploring or simply querying a blockchain of the history of that coin. When did that coin originate and how many hands it has passed. So in a typical fiat currency scenario, in case I get a $10 or 10 rupees note in my hand, I would never know when did this note originate. Of course, that the imprinted date will be there of when did the fiat currency was issued, but thereafter how many hands it has exchanged from the grocery store to the supply chain to the chemist to the doctor, and number of hands. How do I know that? I cannot know that. But in case of an electronic transaction in Bitcoin, what this paper is proposing is that each transaction will be visible. To accomplish this without a trusted party, transactions must be publicly announced. So each transaction, whenever it is indexed in a blockchain, it will be publicly announced. Each and every node will know, and it not that when a transaction happens only that time the nodes will know. It is going to be stored permanently in the blockchain. So a transaction which has happened about 4 years and 5 months back, so that can be eventually checked even today. Who was the recipient, or who had sent it, at what time it was sent, from what UTC or what timestamps were used to spend or to coordinate that transaction. And we need a system for participants to agree on a single history of order in which they were received. So the payee needs proof that at each time of each transaction, the payee needs proof that at the time of each transaction, the majority of nodes agreed it was the first received. So again, he has actually brought this out in a very brief manner, in a brief simplistic manner, but the way he has attained the mechanics we have discussed in the blockchain Bitcoin concepts. So in case you are keen to know further on this, the complete video list, the concept list which is there, so you'll be able to make head and tail out of this, of what he is trying to explain. So more simply what he is trying is that the transactions are publicly announced. Each node, it knows from the complete history of that coin which they have received or which they have sent, or what has been the history, when did it originate, or when was it minted, and so other details. So these are absolutely available at the click of a button. You just query and you get it. So with this we end up the para 2, and in the next video we'll start with para 3, that's the timestamp server.